Xiu Ye is a professional player of an MMORPG called Glory. Under his leadership, the team's excellent era flourished and conquered every battlefield they stepped foot in. As a result, he earned a name for himself as the God of Battle. A blonde girl named Mu Cheng Su opens the door to Xiu's room, and they both go to the club building together. At the club, the director informs Xiu about giving his position as captain to a newcomer named Xiang Sun. Mu Cheng tries to refute this unfair treatment, but Xiu stops her. Xiang seizes the opportunity and tries to ridicule Xiu. They take his current avatar, Autumn Leaf, away and ask him to wait for a new one, but he asks them to terminate his contract, and so the director proposes that he signs his retirement to avoid compensation. Mu Cheng tries to stand up for Xiu, since retirement means that he has to take a leave for a whole year before returning, but Xiu, without any argument, accepts the proposal and leaves the building. It turns out that even though he has earned a lot while being at the club, he used most of the money in helping other players get their footing, and so there isn't much that he has on him. On his way, Xiu comes across an internet cafe and decides to drop in. He buys a seat and begins to find his spot when he meets a girl sitting on a PC, cursing after losing a match. She leaves the seat upon catching sight of Xiu. Xiu finds her account logged in and wins her match for her. She is bewildered to hear the timing when she comes back to log out. Chen immediately recognizes who Xiu might be, but as soon as she sees his ID, her hopes shatter. Xiu requests to work on the night shift, to which Chen challenges him on a one-on-one match, betting on getting a job if he manages to defeat her. Xiu accepts and begins to set up his new account while Chen decides to accompany him through the night. He reveals his identity as Battle God to her, but she takes it as a joke and throws it to the sky. Chen falls asleep in the middle while Xiu is playing a low-level quest after almost a decade. It all feels like a drag, but it brings back meaningful memories. Then he receives an invitation for a raid and joins the raid as a support. Like any other typical rookie squad, a slightly better player shows off his skill and leads the squad while Xiu stays on standby as a support. After a while, the situation changes and two of the players get eliminated. Xiu knows that the player named Yue Zhongmain is trying to knock everyone out to keep the loot all to himself, and so Xiu turns the tables on him and ends up keeping 100% of the dropped items by finishing the monster on his own. Xiu waits for the Phantom Cat to kill his arrogant cheater teammate, and as soon as his HP hits 0, Xiu picks up his weapon and finishes the Phantom Cat in a matter of seconds. Chen wakes up just when he is checking out the dropped items and congratulates him on getting all the quality loot. But suddenly, Xiu's lobby screen fills up with hate comments. Xiu explains the situation, making Chen mad, but she was weirded out by watching him smile like an idiot. She leaves to catch up on her sleep while Xiu continues his quest. Inside the game, after his stunt, Xiu is attracting a lot of negative attention, but it doesn't matter to him. He reaches out to the same guy he taught a lesson to and asks him to let him join his team. Yue reluctantly lets him join. The whole team is rendered speechless after watching his swift moves on the field. Next, they enter a spider cave where he alone takes care of the minions and the boss without so much as breaking a sweat, and once again makes a record of defeating the boss in just 10 seconds. Other players are beginning to wonder about his identity. Meanwhile, a hidden boss shows up inside the cave. The team decides to hand the leader badge to Xiu. He rushes in without hesitation and sets up the mood for the fight, then gives out instructions for the formation while he keeps the front and agitates the spider by injuring its lower body. Once all of them are in formation, he launches a combo attack and they successfully kill the boss. Members of the Blue Brook Guild dig up information on Lord Grimm, and just then, a system updates the players about the first kill of the hidden boss at Spider Cave. Xiu receives several hundred requests from Blue River before he accepts the request. He's the captain of the Blue Brook Guild and asks Xiu to join him on a quest. He proposed that if Xiu gets them a first kill, they'll let him have all the equipment, but Xiu refused, saying that what he needs is rare items. Blue River agrees with his terms without much thought, but soon realizes that he's been played. It was already noon when Xiu gets off the PC. He runs into Chen on his way out. She asks about his progress and is shocked to hear about his 3 first kills in one night. Xiu asks her for a place to sleep, and Chen shows him the way to her apartment, which is cool and quiet, but the real room he is about to stay in is pretty tiny and messy. But Xiu did not care about all that. As long as he gets a bed to sleep, he'll take it. He fell asleep as soon as he hit the bed. The next evening, he hears the news from his ex-club announcing his retirement. They say sweet things for face value, but it still hurts Xiu quite a bit. He walks out of the cafe, unable to listen any further, and finds Chen crying in a corner about their idol's retirement. She snaps at his indifferent attitude and walks inside after pouring out her feelings, but Xiu couldn't do that either and just sits there in the snow. Chen is still crying her eyes out over Battle God's retirement when she sees Xiu hit continuous combos and get items instantly. Watching her still moaning, Xiu really can't understand her since his focus is on leveling his avatar and living in the present. At Frost Forest, the Blue Brook Guild is waiting for Lord Grimm to show up. It appears that a lot of people are distressed because of Xiu's retirement. Bo Yuan introduces Xiu to the squad once he shows up. Xiu straight away asks to remove 2 members and makes an attacker squad. He asks Bo Yuan to let him call the shots, then he enters the portal without giving them any chance to refute. Bo Yuan naturally follows him since he's the one asking for favors. Xiu immediately rushes to lure all the minions he possibly can. When it looks like there is no way out, he flashes through the minions and slashes them as he goes. He uses outdated techniques and strategies that no one uses anymore, and the way he pulls it off is second to none. He gives the minions a chance to gang up on him and then finally flies over to where his squad was standing by. He finally gives out orders and the squad follows his lead to the T, gaining them an overwhelming victory. After successfully making a new record, Bo Yuan was bragging about Lord Grimm to other players when he suddenly received a notification that Lord Grimm left the guild, causing him humiliation. Xiu gets home and covers Chen before passing out in his room. Chen offers him breakfast and hurries outside as soon as she gets a phone call from someone. It turns out her old friend Ro Tong has returned after a while and she's quite a player too. Chen asks her to win a match and the crowd gathers when they see Ro play. Xiu also couldn't help but be impressed, but at the end of the game, her saying that the game is too simple ticks Xiu a little. Chen wants to prove that she can find her match and drags Xiu into a duel with Ro. They make a bet and begin the duel. Even though Xiu's character configuration still lacks, he still can move like a pro and makes Ro eat dust. The crowd is fascinated to see his weapon change forms. They recognize the recent famous Lord Grimm and start to cheer him on. Eventually, Xiu defeats Ro, but she insists to keep going until she wins. However, her wishes didn't come true. Xiu beats her every time and takes the money gladly. At the end of it, he makes his point clear that glory isn't as simple as she thinks it is. After he left, Ro asked Chen to give her an account as well so she could defeat Xiu someday. Ro begins to set up her avatar and names it Han Yan Ro. She chooses to be a classless adventurer at first, but looking at Xiu's customized weapon, she wonders if that's the reason he plays classless. Chen proposes she plays a gunner, but Ro wants to choose a player in close combat. Then she suddenly suggests being a battle mage, just like Xiu's previous avatar was. Chen shows her a whole folder of recorded videos so Ro can watch and learn. Xiu offers to teach her instead since the videos are old and the game has changed a lot since then. He shortlists some videos for her to watch as a guide. A world-class monster spawns on the map and Blue Brook Guild is there to claim the prize. The Blue River was standing by when they noticed the members of Herb Garden Guild. They offered to ally with the Blue Brook Guild. They were discussing that when a guy named Brawler attacks the giant, but he messes up big time in his final blow and ends up running away. Just when he thought he was done, Lord Grimm shows up and he asks him to add him to the team, and then he begins to attack the monster vigorously. Brawler readily follows Xiu's lead and catches up with him faster than expected. In a matter of seconds, a newbie starts to move like a pro. Meanwhile, another guild waiting in the corner analyzes the situation and decides to join the fight since the monster is being pushed to the corner. At that moment, Xiu orders Brawler to trust them and retreat. After a few more hits, the monster enrages and summons his undead minions. Apparently, to be able to enrage the boss, one must hit a 200 combo attack. The minions surround Bo Yuan and the others. They all watch each other's back while fighting them off. Meanwhile, Xiu and Brawler run, luring the monster to a place where they can hide and kill him. They run into Yue and his friends. Xiu asks Brawler to add them to the team, so they begin to take down the monster. Xiu gives them precise orders, boosting their efficiency up a notch. Xiu slides behind the monster and hits it from above, then he speeds up his APM and quickly drains the monster's HP. He then strangles him and throws him to the rocks. The monster summons its minions one last time, but Brawler quickly takes them down. Xiu was chatting with Yue when he receives a message from Blue River. He whines about Xiu stealing their spot and then asks Xiu to make another record for him, but Xiu refuses. He was about to get off the PC when he sees the notification of another rising star. Wen Cheng Han, the captain of the Tyranny Guild, receives a piece of information about the recent score of Autumn Leaf, the avatar Xiu used to have. It's clear as day that the efficiency has decreased a great deal. Meanwhile, Xiu is planning to help Blue River to regain the Frost Forest's record time. But this time, he proposed to bring his men, which involves a battle mage, a scoundrel, and a gunner. At that moment, Chen shows up, reading the mention of the gunner on the screen, and tries to chip in, but Xiu has already decided who to take. Everyone gathered to watch a big match between the Excellent Era and Team 301. The match is set up to be 3-on-3 battle, but Sun Xiang has already defeated 2 players of Team 301 on his own. Chen, like the rest of the crowd, was cheering for Xiang when Xiu tells her not to get her hopes up, because what he sees in the long run is the defeat of Xiang, because Glory is a team game and not a solo game, so as long as one doesn't have good team coordination, it's not possible to make new records. Nonetheless, the match continued to get fierce with every passing second. Mu Cheng took her shots from the sidelines, but soon was dominated by another player. The match was at a very crucial stage when the power went out. Later that night, Xiu finds Rou playing, and at that moment 2 members from his previous team show up at the cafe. They try to flirt with Rou and then notice Xiu sitting next to her. He tries to mock him about his situation, but Xiu is not easy to step on. He quickly seals their mouths by making him see himself. It's finally the day for the raid. Xiu brings Rou and Brawler with him. Both of them are newbies, and the other player he brings is Mu Cheng. Mu Cheng is glad yet somewhat sad to see Xiu again. The battle finally begins and the 2 newbies are doing exceptionally well under the command of Xiu. They lure minions in and kill them as a bunch. During the fight, Rou notices the number of minions she was dealing with compared to the amount Xiu is killing. She feels jealous and ends up breaking the flow of the team. Xiu decides to step in and asks Rou to fall back for a second. He orders them to let the minions collide with each other and then kill them in one spell. He then explains to her how important teamwork is and how it's not about scoring but extending each other's limits while working together. All eyes fell on the overwhelming performance of Mu Cheng while she swiftly kills all the approaching minions. Suddenly, it hits one of the players that she could be the well-known Mu Cheng from the Excellent Era. Mu Cheng plays her game as usual, going all out by Xiu's side. She ends up launching her special attack that could give away her true identity. Xiu messages her to warn her, and they somehow manage to pull the suspicion away. The match ends with a new record, and Rou is still on board to train more. Xiu puts all his energy into training Rou and Brawler, and eventually his ideal team is ready and rolling. Soon, they all receive a notification about the record being broken again by the Excellent Era. Rou asks to break the record again, but Xiu refuses, saying that there is no point now. Hao, one of Xiu's previous subordinates, decides to mess with Xiu again. He tries to get Xiu to do a raid with him, and then asks him for a duel. Xiu sends Brawler in his stead, and after that, they end up inviting him on a raid. Up until now, Hao was under the impression that what he is doing is excellently smart, but he ends up making a fool of himself when he finds out about his match in the evening. Since he wasn't in his top condition, his performance naturally declined. Xiu was not surprised in the least when Hao messages Xiu and tries to play dumb. Xiu exposes his dirty scheme to him, cutting him off completely. Later, Rou notices a weird man at the entrance of the cafe, but Xiu sends her away. It turns out that the weird dude is Huang, the wise captain of Blue Rain. Xiu has asked them to help him break the record. Huang is shocked to see the current record and wonders who came up with the strategy, but the answer was simple. It is Xiu Ye's strategy that the Excellent Era is using to create records this fast. At the Boneyard, the squad assembles and Xiu introduces Huang to them, but he makes a fuss about revealing his identity. It appears that Xiu now has 2 knuckleheads on his team. The raid starts when Xiu rushes and slams the ground, summoning the minions from underneath. Then he uses his ninja technique as well as his mage-like attack to send the minions into the air, and he transforms his weapon and smacks them toward the crack in the rocks. Huang sees the weapon's transformation and curiously follows him to ask about it, but Xiu shuts him up quickly. Huang follows Xiu's lead and traps the monster in the cracks. Now it's finally time for the boss fight. The 2 of them rush in, while the other supports them from behind. Everything was going smoothly until Brawler kicked the boss monster at the wrong angle, but Huang stepped in and slashed the monster instantly. It turns out that Huang is precise and quick and is second to none in that sense, but the only flaw he has is that he talks too much. Xiu continues to hit the boss and lands the final blow, which traps the monster in the crack as they have planned. Xiu revealed the identity on the hateful sword, the guy they played with previously. Brawler couldn't help but curse him for being a dirty spy, but since Huang has now joined him, Xiu doesn't mind Hao taking a bit of something from him. Xiu invites Huang to join the Blue Brook, and they prepare to enter another raid. Yet again, Huang starts to ramble uncontrollably, and Xiu can't even mute him this time, since he's sitting right next to him. And that concludes our recap for today. I hope you enjoyed this little story as much as we did in the world of MMORPG. But don't worry, this is no way the end of it, and there is much more coming up. So drop us a like and subscribe to Any Recap to stay tuned for the rest of the story and many more. With that said, we'll see you in the next one. Peace!